We are harvesting kale today for kale chips. I think we have a good amount of kale. We still have plenty left. All right, we're in the kitchen. And today I went and harvested kale out of our garden for the first time this season. We have a lot of kale, and kale's great chopped up in salads, finely diced, or sauteed. But today I'm going to make a special treat for Connor. Connor is our kale kid, and he absolutely loves kale chips. So I'll show you what I do to prepare kale chips for him. First, you're gonna get a bunch of kale. You can have a little bit of kale or a lot of it of kale, depends on how much you wanna make, but just get you some kale, and this is straight from the garden. I haven't washed it off yet, so I have a strainer here, but I'm just gonna go ahead before I even wash them off. I'm just gonna clean the stems off of the leaves. Now you can cut them with scissors if you want, or you can just rip the leaves down the stem like this. But I'm just gonna rip, and and just the stems that are left over, I'm just gonna set them aside because I'm gonna give those to my chickens because they will enjoy that. Don't have to be precise, doesn't have to be pretty, but we are gonna wash this in a little bit. Kale chips are especially good with those big leaves so the tender small leaves are really good for, I think anyway, better for salads. The big leaves get a little bit more fibrous and tough. You can still saute them and eat them, they're fine. But I find that the bigger leaves, the more mature leaves, make good chips because they're thicker and heartier, and they hold up well in the oven. Kale is also one of those plants that once it's established, it's pretty hard to kill. If you don't have a green thumb, or you want to try your hand at growing some greens, kale, it's not as finicky as spinach when it comes to weather. It is heat and cold tolerant. We're in South Texas, so we get some really hot summers, and sometimes we'll get snow in the winter. And we've had a kale plant before in the past that was a mature kale plant at our previous home, and we wanted to bring it with us, so we dug it up and brought it, and it survived and thrived for like an additional 3 or 4 years. It was a really, really big, just one singular kale plant. And I was really surprised at how well it did, even after transplanting. Kale's really good in smoothies too. If you make smoothies in the morning or for lunch or whatever, you can throw some kale in there. It's an excellent source of vitamins, minerals, fiber. Okay, let's see here. And it's like spinach. Once you put it in a smoothie and blend it up with a bunch of other stuff, you don't really know it's even there. You just get the added benefit. So I'm going to take this strainer full of kale, and I'm just going to go ahead and wash it really well with some cool water. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this kale and I'm going to lay it out flat as I can on some paper towels to let it dry. If you're in a hurry, you can blow dry. I've done that before. I've blown dried in a bowl my kale. And then I've done what I needed to do to make the kale chips. But I've got some time, so I'm just going to let them air dry out on a paper towel. And here's a good time where you can kind of just rip these apart into bite-sized chip pieces while you fit them on your paper towel to dry. Sometimes when you take them off the stem, they come in these kind of long chunks. You can just kind of shape them into more manageable pieces. And you might have paper towels like me in a second all over your kitchen. So these can dry. Connor's at school right now, but this is a good fun activity to do with your kids, because when he was little, we used to do this together, and him being involved with the process, I really think made it that much more enjoyable for him to eat it and excited to eat it and try it. And he was like, oh man, I made these chips. That's why I like to get my kids involved in my garden, because when they are involved, they take ownership and they feel pride about it, and it gets them excited and want to try stuff. So if your kids have ever expressed interest in growing a garden, please let them. Even if it's a sunflower in a red Solo cup at the window, or a bean sprout. So important for kids to grow things. Growing up, my family did not have, I lived in like a subdivision with my mom and dad. And even in a subdivision, I would find a spot where I could plant some raggedy tomato, a couple carrots. I was always trying to grow something. Okay, so I have these dry here. I have a few more laying out on a paper towel over there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook these two different ways. I'm going to have my oven preheated to 300, and I'm going to pop these in the oven for about 20 minutes, and then I'm going to shake them around a little bit, and then I'm going to pop them back in there for about maybe an additional 5 to 10, just to see where they're at. You want them crispy, a little bit brown, but I will tell you, if you let them burn, they will be bitter. So just keep an eye on them. Now here's the fun part. You can, and these are completely dry, by the way, you can dress these up however you like. I'm going to put, you just need like an oil base. So this is olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to drizzle this around to coat it, and then you can sprinkle on here whatever seasoning you like. I'm going to use garlic, salt, and a little bit of onion powder. You can do a flaky sea salt, you can do cracked pepper, you could do like a ranch packet, maybe some Cajun seasoning, maybe some Parmesan, a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Really play around with it. But I'm going to do some on the baking sheet, but I'm also going to throw a small batch into my air fryer. I've got a little air fryer back here. The thing about air fryers, or my air fryer, is it's a small basket, and you don't want to overcrowd them. So you have to lay them down in a flat, kind of a flat area, and the air fryer may kind of like blow them around a little bit, so we're going to experiment with that. But for sure, we're going to do one batch on the baking sheets that I've lined with aluminum foil, or you can use parchment paper, and in the oven at 300, and then one we're going to try out in our air fryer. So let's get to it. I am not measuring with any sort of like measuring cup. I'm measuring with my heart. And I'm just going to kind of toss this all together. And we want all the kale kind of coated a little bit with the olive oil. If you have like an olive oil spray, you can spray them down too. That would work. If you didn't have like actual olive oil. So here my kale's nice and shiny, coated in olive oil. Now here you can actually sprinkle all your seasonings in the bowl, or you can lay them out flat and sprinkle them on top. I'm just gonna sprinkle them in the bowl. The only advantage to laying them out first and then sprinkling on is if you wanted to do 2 different flavorings, but I'm gonna use the same flavoring for both batches. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add my seasonings in the bowl and then just lay them out flat. Okay, first we're gonna do a little bit of garlic salt. Again, measuring with your heart. And a little onion powder. So the reason why it's important to make sure that your kale chips are completely dry, or your kale is completely dry before popping them in the oven, is because they will wilt or get soggy in the oven if they have any moisture on them. But this way, if they're completely dry, they'll crisp up. And that's what you want. You want them to be crispy. And here I'm just laying them out as flat and evenly as I can, making sure that they all have space. This is what it looks like before it goes in. Let me show you. See? I'm just going to toss a few of these in here. And air fryers cook a little quicker. So I'm going to do 300, and I'll do it about 10 minutes to start. Catch you back in a minute. Since we have a little time to kill, let's go ahead and feed the chickens. Come on. Come get some treats. All right, so check it out. They shrunk. But I just took these out of the oven, and I will say that these cooked quicker than I anticipated. I checked on them, thank goodness. These were done in like 15 minutes. Probably all depends on the size that of kale chip that you're cooking. How long it will take to completely cook. Initially, depending on 20 minutes may be good, or 15 minutes may be good. So I'm glad I checked these at 15 because they're perfect. My air fryer kale chips also cooked, but I'm also glad I checked on them halfway through, because at 5 minutes I pulled them out and they were all clumped together. So I had to kind of shake them up, put them back in there, and I could hear them kind of flying around in there, and then they would clump up again together. So air fryer's okay if you take them out and shake them every once in a while, but they get done a lot quicker, probably half the time, than the oven kale chips. But you can only do a small amount in the air fryer and a large amount on the cookie sheets. But let me show you what they look like and how they sound when you eat them. Because you're like, I don't know about a chip. Okay, so that's what they look like. Before you store them though, you're gonna wanna make sure that they cool completely, or they will get soggy back on you. If you want them to be crispy when you store them, make sure that they are just cooled completely. So let me show you. Let me grab one. So right here. Okay. Just listen. They're crispy. They're crunchy. Flaky. And they're delicious. I don't know if I can show you them. How they will just literally crumble. Drop that piece. But yeah, they're no longer your soft leafy green. They're a kale chip. My kids love them. I love them. I hope there's some left by the time they get home. The air fryer ones, let me show you. They did the same thing. But like I said, they just required a little bit more babysitting. But same deal, same crunchy texture, tastes the same. Kids better get home quick. So I'll just stand here. No, I got more batches I can do. So I'm gonna put these in another container. I'm not gonna close the lid just yet. I'm gonna let all the heat evaporate, and then I'll close them in an airtight container or a Ziploc baggie. I suggest an airtight container because if you put them in a Ziploc baggie and they get smashed, they will become little bits of crunchy flavor. So try not to smash them up too much. But I'll put them in a container, airtight container, and they will be good to go for the kids. And I'll be sure to record them when they get home and their reaction to the kale chips for you. So good. So good. Okay, Connor's home from school. Connor, I made you something today.
What?
It's right there behind you.
This?
Uh-huh.
How these?
Those are for you, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. Close your eyes. Close your eyes, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't close my eyes and video.
No, just keep closing your eyes, right. Mm-hmm. Keep closing your eyes. Mm-hmm.
No, come back. Do you like them?
Yeah.
I was telling everyone how I used to love kale chips when I would make them when you were little. Good, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, Laura, you like them too? Y'all are silly. All right, I just want to show you that I made those for you today. I hope you like them.
Mm-hmm.
Love you.
Love you.
Did you find what I made?
So good.
Are they?
Yeah, they are.
Do you like them too? I know Laura likes them.
Mm-hmm.
Kale chips, and guess what? They're keto.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've made them.
Yeah.
Forgot how much I like them.
I know, they're like a perfect salty, like,
Yeah.
I am a chip salty person. Like when I crave something salty, it's like normally chips, and this is such a good replacement for that.
Look.
Yeah, stop.
I know. When I was making them, I was
Laura,
like,
bacon?
yeah, Laura, pick that up, please. When I was making them, I was
Snack on?
snacking on them. I was like, I should probably stop because,
So good.
yeah.
Oh, thanks, babe.
You're welcome, baby.